Hello, and in today's video we are doing Premier League predictions for match week number 12 of the 2021-22 season, and that is Ben Chilwell there sliding across the ground in jubilation after he scored a fantastic goal versus Norwich all the way back in game week number... Yes, it was of course game week number 9, and that was back in the day when Watford were getting 5-2 wins against Everton. Since then, we've been pretty sloppy against the likes of Southampton and Arsenal. But this is the week for redemption, hopefully. We have Man United at home. Look, Man United awful against Man City, and Solskjaer's under pressure. But there are a few other managers under pressure. A few managers are arriving for the first time. So it is a bit of a managerial merry-go-round at the minute. But I am going to predict all 20 games of the Premier League this coming weekend. And let's get into it. So first of all, how do we get on in game week number 11? Well, I can in fact reveal that we got ourselves a very, very, very sloppy total of 5 points. I don't believe my eyes. Surely not. No, not even that. Oh my goodness gracious me. So we can't even get more than 4 points. Oh my gosh, we actually ended up finishing on a dreadful total of 2. I just don't believe it. So we got a correct result in the Man City win, fair enough. Unlucky that Man United didn't score because then we would have got a correct result. Correct scoreline. And then nothing else, right? Brentford losing to Norwich, what was that about? We thought Southampton Villa would be a draw. We thought Palace Wolves would be a draw, and of course Palace got the win. Chelsea we thought would trump Burnley, but no. They get a last-minute equaliser through Matty Vydra, what a legend. Everton Spurs, no. Antonio Conte, new manager bounce, that's a surprise. Leeds against Leicester, we're back Leicester of course, because they look like the stronger team this season. But now, of course, it's a draw. And Brighton Newcastle defensively were not doing that well, and Brighton have been a good team this season, but of course they can only draw in that game. And we only got a correct result in the Arsenal game. So that's 2 correct results in the Arsenal win and the Man City win, but nothing else there. Liverpool to win that game, a lot of people would have predicted that. Not many West Ham fans would have predicted that, but what a win it was. So yeah, not good at all. That means I'm on an overall total of 98 points, I think, but I'll confirm that now as I look back on how we got in terms of the video last game week. How did you get on in the predictions? Do comment down your predictions and the order of the predictions league. You've got in 7th, it is Sportcato1, I think. Yep, or Sportcat1 basically. And they're remaining on 8 points for now. 6th place was Chris Welch. He's still on 11 points. So yeah, do get in the comments as well. 5th, Pav Kapoor on 12 points. And 4th place, Footy Tom on 15 points, I should say. And 3rd place is Potlock Football. They are on 21 after match week 11, match week 10, I should say. And then going into that second spot, we know that before last week we were on a decent tally. Not amazing, but it will do for this week, I suppose. So that meant that we're kind of still staying in a respectable overall points tally, but I still think there's a lot of room for improvement at this point. Like we can do better. It's just a lot of games this season are looking pretty unpredictable, so there's not a lot I can do about that. So yeah, look, let's get some correct scorelines this week. Let's try and resurrect my form. But ultimately, yeah, not good at all this week, scoring just 2 points. But then Douglas, how did he get on? Well, obviously before match week 11, I think Douglas was top, but I'm not sure what the gap was. I think it was quite reduced compared to previous weeks. But he had a very strong game week number 11, and actually a very good game week 10, which is what's put him in that position. So 12 points from 98. it's interesting with 110 there for Douglas. But Douglas, you scored a very decent score this week, and it was 6 points. Considering it was a tough week, that's not too bad. But the top scorer from the week last week, and shout out to some of the predictions here because they were fantastic. It was in fact indeed a little bit of lock football. Very good stuff. A very nice total of 16 points there with 2 correct scorelines, Leeds and Manchester City games. Fantastic. And I think a lot of people would have predicted a Tottenham win, and certainly I'd say a lot of people would have predicted Brentford to win. So to say Norwich would get something out of it, fair play to you. Very decent week for you. So that of course means that the lock football overall tally that was on originally has now gone up. So that is very, very interesting. So we will just update that for you people. Look, ultimately, lock football, 21 points, but now you're sitting pretty on a very decent overall points. Now, this, could get better. So do feel free to comment once again on the predictions. But yeah, ultimately, lock football now is on an overall score of 37 points. And also we have got Douglas, that is of course the Dugout Football channel. He is on a overall score of 116. Whereas I'm languishing down around 98 mark. I don't even know if that's what it is, but it's something around there. So not great at all. Might be 100, I'm not even sure. But I know they're not winning. So let's just move on from last week. This week needs to be much better. Here are the fixtures you can see on that left-hand side. Leicester versus Chelsea to kick off. It's, of course, Chilwell's former team in Leicester City. He did, of course, score in that game a few seasons back against Chelsea for Leicester. So will history reverse itself? I don't know. Villa against Brighton. That's interesting. Start of Steven Gerrard's reign at Aston Villa. And he takes on a high-flying Brighton who were disappointing against Newcastle and obviously will be without their main man in goal, Robert Sanchez, after his red card. But it's only a one-match ban because of the fact it wasn't a very endangering challenge. It was just one of those things like last man kind of thing, or denial of a goal scoring opportunity. Those usually get one-match bans, especially for goalkeepers. It was quite an innocuous challenge, but it was deliberate and it was fair enough for a red card. Burnley Palace as well. Palace are doing well, and Burnley obviously good point against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge last week. Newcastle Brentford as well. That's going to be a really interesting one. Obviously Newcastle with a new start, new manager Eddie Howe, and he's going to try and away the lads, of course. For Eddie Howe, that would be funny. But he's going to try and revive the new era. And look, on the surface of what he saw against Brighton, there's positive signs, but there's also a lot of work to do. And Brentford have been a team in decline recently, so it's an opportunity there for the Magpies. Norwich Southampton. Look, Norwich, they're under new management and Dean Smith. It's a big challenge for them to stay out. They look one of those teams pretty much dead and buried, but you never know. Southampton have been a bit up and down this season. Watford Man United. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, is he under pressure? Ranieri, obviously, you'd think he'd stay, but it's about whether we can be patient with this long run of tough games. We need to start, getting some points, but we don't think it will come that soon. It's just, I think, what Ranieri's doing is he's instilling the style he wants to. So hopefully that will, put better performances in. Recently, our Arsenal game was quite good. We were in the game for a long time. We really played hard and tried hard, but look, we got to do what we can. Wolves West Ham, that'll be interesting. Obviously, West Ham will be bouncing after last week. Liverpool Arsenal. And, of course, this is always a game Liverpool have won in the past. But, Arsenal are doing well. They're keeping clean sheets. And, I don't know, it just feels like Liverpool, although they're really strong, Arsenal, they don't usually, get results away from home against the Big Six, Arsenal. But I think it would be a bit of a surprise to see a similar result to the game at Manchester City where they just got steamrolled. I think Liverpool will play well and they'll probably win comfortably. But I just think Arsenal are, staying in games a lot better. But, of course, you'd say with the current defence as well, with people like Tomiyasu and Aaron Ramsdale now slotting in, they haven't really been up against a tough opposition as of yet. Man City Everton, interesting one, of course. Rafa Benitez, is he on his way out soon? I don't know. Just he's not getting the best out of them, but if he gets an absolute battering here, you never know. Ultimately, though, Man City will be looking to continue on their form after that Manchester derby win. Manchester is blue, it seems, and by a big mile. Spurs Leeds as well. Obviously, first home game for Antonio Conte for Tottenham Hotspur, and a disappointing game against Everton last week. But you'd imagine the stadium will be packed and buzzing for that one. Really up for that, of course, with Son on his international duty, and Kane as well, scoring goals, 7 in 2 games. He'll be looking to start his goal scoring run. So yeah, really interesting round of fixtures really. So I'm going to start off by saying what is the theme of the week for this week's predictions, and I can in fact say that as it is this Sunday, I'm so excited because it's always a great watch. It is I'm a Celebrity, get me out of here. Yeah, that's right, the old legendary show I'm a Celeb, hosted by Ant and Deck, and it makes its return. So we got some decent people on there, the likes of Adam Woodyap from Ian EastEnders. There's nothing left, and a little bit of the wife of Wayne Bridge, and obviously who will be King Power or Queen Power of the jungle. I don't know what I'm doing there, but Stamford Bridge, Wayne Bridge, I don't even know. But anyway, Frankie Bridge will be on it. We've also got a little bit of Richard Madeley, so you never know. Could be an interesting series for sure. But let's see how many stars the Premier League can throw out this week. And will the players pass their trials, or will they be having small rations, a bit of rice and beans, and having to basically feed on scraps as this Premier League weekend comes into view? It certainly shall be interesting. But welcome to all the new managers. Of course, Steven Gerrard, and Dean Smith strikes back, of course. And of course, Eddie Howe. He's been out of the game for a little bit now, but it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. And whether Ole, if he loses to Watford, is that out the door? But you never quite know with them. Manchester United can be up and down, but they have a lot of quality to punish teams. Let's start off with that Leicester game. Should be a good one, I think, on BT Sport, and it's seeing the Foxes take on the Blues. Ultimately, Jamie Vardy has got a great record against the Big Six, but he's not been doing well recently. And for Chelsea, Lukaku is not going to be fit in time. I thought he was, and I did predict him to score in this game, but do just ignore that because I will change it. But ultimately, yeah, the theme is I'm Celebrity, and the little, what do I say? The pun, I suppose, is I'm a manager, get me out of here. Not I'm a Celebrity, because look, there's a managerial merry-go-round. But the song of the week is actually similarly themed for the sacking. 3 strikes and you're out. That is by the Four Men. So good tune, that one for sure. But ultimately, I think both these teams will be looking for a Champions League place this season. Leicester have fallen off a little bit, but they've last few weeks come a little bit better, back into form, and got a good point against Leeds, but they would have expected a win. It was a good finish from Harvey Barnes. What an angle, and what a finish. No chance of Meslier. So it'll be interesting to see, with Barnes obviously back in form, people like Patson Daka still doing well. Iheanacho is not playing all the time, but they've got a good front three. And ultimately, I think some of that defence needs fixing, but they do have a solid unit. It's just I think they're going to really miss the injury of Yuri Tielemans, and I just don't know how this game's going to go, because Leicester looked really poor in the early kick-off against Arsenal a few weeks ago, but then they also beat Man United, so it's a bit up and down with the Foxes. Chelsea, they're looking so strong right now, and the only thing I think they would want to do is score a few more goals, but they are winning games well, and they're just looking quite solid. But obviously, it slipped up last week, Burnley with a goal. Will that continue? Will they struggle to keep a clean sheet? But I think ultimately it'll be a Leicester win regardless. I do think that... Chelsea win. I should say Chelsea win. What I will say, I think the game will be tight. I think it won't have many goals, maybe 3 at the most, perhaps quite realistic. But I think these teams will be very well matched, and I could see a few interesting moments in the game for sure. I just think that Tuchel has got to get them playing maybe a style that can get teams and score loads past them. I know it was Norwich and they did do that, but they haven't been scoring enough, and I think that's down to the strikers. Look, Lukaku's been out injured, Timo Werner the same, but they need to get Havertz playing better football, and if he's going to play in that number false 9, then he's got to do more, really. So, obviously scored last week against Burnley, but it's just not been consistent enough, and I think that Chelsea are a team that should score more goals, and it's just been the curse of the number 9 for them. So, let's see what happens here, but I'm going to just edge towards a Chelsea win. Leicester City 1, Chelsea 2. And what were our predicted scorers? Let's have a little look. Can I find it? Let me see. Here it is. Decent. So, we've gone for Leicester 1, Chelsea 2, and Lukaku, Vardy, and Reece James to get on the score sheet. Interesting stuff. Well. But anyway, quickly moving on. We've got the prediction of Villa v Brighton. First game for Gerrard. What can he do here? And obviously, Danny Ings, I think, still has COVID, maybe, or still an injury or some sort. So that's a bit of a struggle for them. They've not got him playing to the best of their ability. And also, Buendia has just been a bit quiet in games recently. So they've got a few attacking problems. But Ollie Watkins is a player that Gerrard will want to make the most out of, as well as, their midfield. Can they get McGinn putting in performances week in, week out? You'd think he can do that. But ultimately, I think this is an interesting game. Brighton, they looked quite good, I thought, in games previous to that match against Newcastle. But, they had chances, I suppose, and, Trossard's in good form. But I just think they're leaking a few goals at the minute. So Villa, they're not going to get amazing results right from the off under Gerrard. But he's certainly not going to settle for anything less than 100% going out there and going for it. So I think Villa will give a good fight in this game. And I'm saying that on opening day it is going to be a draw, but I will imagine both defences still have ways to improve. So I'll say Villa 2, Brighton 2. And what are we saying for goal scorers in this one? We are going to go for goals from Ollie Watkins, Leandro Trossard, the inevitable and controversial figure of Neil Maupay, and Emiliano Buendia in a thriller of a draw. Now it's Burnley versus Palace, and this is interesting because Burnley, I was not impressed really with them last week. I thought against Chelsea dominated and they should have put past them a lot more goals. But fair enough, Burnley, they get the goal when it matters. And it was one of those games you kind of felt the lure of football. If you don't take your chances, you're going to pay, and that's what Burnley did to Chelsea. So fair enough for that. Good away point for sure. But they haven't been scoring goals after goals. I think defensively they are still a team that needs improving. But from going forward, I think Cornet looks a really good player, and I also think, Dwight McNeil is one of those players who can have phases in a season. It's just, can he keep it up a bit more consistently? But I think this is a decent match, and I think Palace are the form team. I think they're the favourites for this one. So I'm going to back towards a cagey affair, but I'll go for a 1-1 draw with a 1-1 result, and we will go for the goal scorers Wood and Edouard, the two strikers here. I'm not sure if Chris Wood's in the best of form. He probably won't score, but Cornet and McNeil will most likely be involved, and Edouard to get the equaliser after the New Zealand opener. So now let's move on to the matchup between Norwich and Southampton, and I'm gonna just leave the Eddie Howe game till quite near the end because that's gonna be a big discussion. But ultimately, Norwich Southampton, I do also think this is a game that could be cagey, but look, Norwich are under the new management of Dean Smith. They're going to go for it. Pukki obviously did tuck away the penalty confidently last week, but the sacking of Daniel Farke I think is interesting. It's like they win a game and they're like, nope, you're gone. We're not going to, we don't like this experience of winning. I don't know, it was a weird one, but they obviously had planned it previously to that game, they must have, and just thought they weren't going in the right direction. But I still think it's pretty much an impossible task to keep them up. So they'll struggle against teams like Southampton, who, away from home especially, have looked quite solid. So I'll say Norwich 0, Southampton 1, and the only goal... Actually, no, 2-0 actually, Southampton. I think Norwich, they're just making chances for the opposition. and Ward-Prowse could be in the goals possibly, but I'll say Livramento to score first, and then we'll go for a little goal from Adam Armstrong, who's in a decent run of form, and he's keeping Armando Broja and Che Adams to an extent out the side in terms of performances and getting involved. So I really do think he's developing in his role at the St Mary's faithful. Now we've got Watford Man United. I'm worried about this game, I'll be honest, because look, Man United as a team, they've not been great. Performance-wise, they've not been great, but they have players of world-class ability. Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes, Jadon Sancho, if he can get onto the pitch, the former Watford Academy player, of course, and of course, you've still got Marcus Rashford and Mason Greenwood. So it's an unbelievable team. The squad depth on the bench is a joke, and they're rotting some of their players away. A bit like Man City, they're just not playing players who need to play week in, week out. There's been a few injuries, but look, they're such a strong side. So I'm worried about it, of course, but we need to do what we can and at least have a go against Man United. I think we've had a few defensive problems in terms of not keeping a clean sheet so far this season, and that's been unfortunately worsened by our injuries at the back. We've still got Sierralta out, Cabaselli's still out injured, and look, we've got midfield problems, and that's because Kutska sent off last week, even though he played really well, really was showing the tenacity we need. I thought it was a harsh 2 yellow cards, but that's the way it goes. And he does miss this game. We've also got Ozan Tufan with a slight knock. I'm not sure if he's going to be fit in time. I think it would be a doubt. And Atebo as well has been out for a long time, so we've not got a lot of midfield options. So ex-Man United player Tom Cleverley could possibly come back in. We could see Ben Foster in between the six again because, I just feel for Backman. I just don't know where he's going to get back in the team. And ultimately, we need a safe pair of hands, and Foster is experienced. Obviously, Liverpool was a bad one, but hopefully we'll have learned from that experience and not give Man United too much respect. And also, I think that Cleverley, hopefully will give that tenacity we need in midfield. Also, Cathcart as well, an ex-Man United player, so that's an interesting story to talk about. There's been a few links between the two teams in the past. You've got James Garner as well, who went on loan, and that was a bit of an unsuccessful one. But ultimately, this is an interesting game. I think we are going to lose it, but let's just see if we can put up a fight and gain some confidence from it if it's not the best of results. So I'll say Watford 1, Man United 3. The first goal of the game, though, I'm going to go for a little bit of Joshua King. Now, actually, he's got a good record, but I'll instead say Ismaila Sarr. I think he needs to goal more. So we'll at least have a little bit of hope and happiness, and we'll preserve that moment. We'll take that moment when we do take the lead through Ismaila Sarr, but then reality will strike back, unfortunately, and we'll just have to accept Man United are the better team, and we'll have much more winnable games this season. When Ronaldo gets a goal, Bruno Fernandes, and then Marcus Rashford, they're all very good players on their day. Now we will go for the minutes of those goals, and I think Sarr will get his one on the 27th minute. Then Bruno Fernandes, I think, will actually score before the others, so I'll rechange that order. He will score in the second half on the 53rd minute. Ronaldo gets his second of the last few weeks, and gets Man United second on 68 minutes. And then Rashford finishes it off very, very nicely on 83rd minute. Now, Wolves-West Ham. This is an interesting game, I think, because you look at West Ham, they're absolutely on top of the world. Can they push for the Champions League? It would be amazing. I'm not sure they're going to do a Leicester because that's just too much of an ask with how strong the big teams are. But a Champions League spot, like they nearly got that last season. They were just unlucky and they didn't quite finish off in the best way. But even without Jesse Lingard, they have looked brilliant this season, and they're getting the best out of Jared Bowen, out of Pablo Fornals, out of Declan Rice as well, which is a shame that he's been out injured the last couple of weeks. I think he's got an illness or something. He hasn't played for England, and I don't think he'll play this game. But they have got a lot of depth. Antonio obviously is their only striker, but midfield-wise, they've got options. Ben Rama. They've also got, when they need to, Lanzini. So they've got a decent team there. But I think it's just been a great management from David Moyes, and he's turned a very average team into a very, very flexible one. So Wolves will struggle here, I think, off the back of the last week. Look, they'll look at that game, I think, last time against Palace and think they can do better than that. But I just think West Ham are too strong. So Wolves 1, West Ham 2. I think Wolves will concede first, and Antonio again. Then the second goal for West Ham, I don't know. It's a tough one. Let's go for another for Antonio. It's got to be done. He's so good. And then João Moutinho, who will be licking his wounds from a Portuguese perspective after we crashed out of the qualification stages for the World Cup and have to rely on the playoffs now. But at least he'll have some consolation here with a goal for his national side, for his domestic side, I should say. But it will end 2-1 to the Hammers. Liverpool Arsenal, Sky Sports. And of course, it's a bumper Saturday, 3 o'clock fixtures. That is what you'll have to see. But ultimately, I think Liverpool will have the upper hand here. They're at home. They're looking strong. They're scoring goals. Mo Salah on form is looking amazing. And obviously, Arsenal, they've looked defensively good. But Aubameyang, Lacazette, they just don't even compare to Liverpool's front three. So I'm saying Liverpool will win this one. But, Arsenal, I think, will have at least a good performance, if not the best of results. 3-0 to the Liverpool, and Trent, Salah and Jota to get on the score sheet with the likes of Bobby Firmino out injured. I think Jota's going to take that role, and just as he did last season at home on his debut for Liverpool, he'll get a goal this time around. Now, it's Man City v Everton, and this is an interesting game because has Rafa got very little time left? Now, you'd argue you shouldn't judge it on games like this. Probably the hardest game you will ever play in the season is away to Man City. But ultimately, Man City, they didn't look brilliant in the game a couple of weeks ago. I thought they'd be a bit more scary for the opposition, really, and they looked very susceptible on the break against Palace. But fair enough, they've responded well against Man United, and 2 really good goals. The first one, look, that's a great cross, and I know it's an own goal, but you just got to look at the creativity from the wing-back positions from that Man City team, and it's fantastic. And then the second goal, look, how's that gone in? But it's still a great cross from Cancelo, and he's just stretched it for Bernardo Silva, and he's in really good form. So you got to give it to him. The Portuguese doing well this season. But I'm going to say that Man City will get a comfortable win. I think Everton have just looked quite defensively leaky. I know that they had that clean sheet v Spurs, but I think that was a bit of a blip because Spurs, they're not in the best of confidence either, and they won't have Mason Holgate, of course, who did get dismissed. But I think this is a game that Everton really will just want to forget about. Man City to win, though, by 3-0, and I think the first goal of the game will come indeed from Bernardo Silva. Then Gabriel Jesus. He's got a fantastic record against Everton, scoring goals after goals. And then a bit of Rodri, a bit of an unconventional scorer, of course, in that defensive midfield, but I think he'll get the goal. Then we've got the match-up between Spurs and Leeds. It's the last game of the weekend. Sky Sports 4:30 kickoff. Should be an interesting one. Could be bags of goals, especially for Tottenham Hotspur, because we know Leeds like to attack. That'll lead to them exposed, and I think Spurs, they're just surely going to get better eventually under Conte. And Kane, Son, they're going to link up. They're going to be good as usual. I'm saying Spurs 3 and Tottenham will get a win after a 3-1 victory. Rodrigo, I think, is the man that has to, kind of carry the baton for Leeds whilst Bamford is out injured. And you'd argue there's not many people to carry the baton for Everton whilst Calvert-Lewin's out injured. But anyway, we'll move on from that. I think Leeds will at least go for it. And Rodrigo to get the opener. He'll have confidence from his goal against Wolves not too long ago and against Norwich as well. And Kane, I think, will respond from that goal with a double from the legendary striker that will get close to the Golden Boot this season once he gets in the swing of things. And then Lucas Moura. He's not been playing a lot recently, but I think he's still got a lot to offer and a bit more to offer. Thanks for watching, though, my Premier League predictions. I know it's been a long one tonight, half an hour, but look, it's content that we want to see. It's deep, insightful analysis, and I hope you have enjoyed. If I do say so myself, I hope you have enjoyed. Smash a like on it, and I would be buzzing to get your predictions. I would be fascinated to see what you think. So get it down in the comment section below. But if you are going to watch a bit of I'm Celeb, then do tune in and let's see what the Newcastle game is. We'll come to that now, of course. Away the lads. Eddie Howe's first game. I think that Ant and Deck were in the stands for that game against Spurs when they got the owners in, and that was poor. But look, Newcastle can only go up from here, I think. Wilson, he's back with Eddie Howe. Fraser the same. I'm not sure if Eddie Howe's going to be too delighted about that after the way he left Bournemouth. But no, still, it's a good team, Newcastle, in terms of fan base, size of the club. And they'll try and invest and use the money wisely in January. But they need to defend better. Ivan Toney's not been in good form. Neither is Brian and Mbeumo. But look, defensively, they're a problem right now in Newcastle. So let's see which way this one swings. But I'm just going to fancy that on the day, it'll be an interesting little draw here. No, I won't. I'm saying a Brentford win. What am I on about? So I'm not sure this will actually happen. This is a bold prediction, I know. But Ivan Toney hat-trick. I just think, he's so good. And we haven't really seen that a lot this season. But last season he was fantastic. It'll come good eventually. And you'd argue maybe Newcastle championship level defence right now with what they have. I don't know. I will say that he'll kind of get back in that championship mood and score a hat-trick. I don't know, but he's on penalties, I suppose. But yeah, that starts off, and then Mbeumo scores, Ritchie for Newcastle, and then Saint-Maximin. But it's 4-2 to Brentford. A very bold prediction, I know. Probably won't happen. It'll probably be a drab 1-0 to Newcastle, and then I'll get the prediction wrong. But we've gone for it. We're feeling very spicy. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.